When the call came from the Julia Creek Dirt and Dust Festival to take on the best the Outback could offer, 3 of the lifeguards from the hit show Bondi Rescue, Corey, Bacon and Reedy, accepted the challenge. During a 1,300-kilometre road trip from Townsville to Mount Isa, along the historic Overlanders Way, the boys will leave the comforts of Bondi Beach to explore the heart of Queensland's rugged outback. Along the way, the boys will round up cattle from the air, chase fillies at the races, compete in the world's toughest triathlon, wrestle wild animals, play politics, roll with the punches, take on the Dirt and Dust Festival, bog snorkel, toy with big trucks, mine for adventure, and yes, tame wild bulls. There'll be horseplay, the odd fishtail, and plenty of laughs along the way. It's a wild and dusty ride as the 3 larrikin lifeguards take on the outback and each other in the adventure of a lifetime. For the Bondi boys more accustomed to the city fringe, the Outback trip is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity and a chance to see the real Australia and the people and places that make it such a special part of the world.
My first thoughts when they asked me to come to the Dirt and Dust Festival, I guess, were, it's going to be a way for me to see the Outback Australia that I'd never seen before.
Got a call up a couple of months ago that myself, Reedy and Bacon were coming Outback, and mate, just put a big smile on the face, mate.
To be able to get away from work and come out on a road trip with 2 good mates, into a place that I've never been before and see things that I've never seen and do things I've never done, yeah, I'm pumped.
As lifeguards on Bondi Beach, Corey, Bacon and Reedy are great mates, and they all share a great passion for life, with a bond built over many years saving lives.
I think that's the beauty of our job. Everyone's so different, but it just all works so well. We just get along really well, and it's just such a good bunch of guys that we get to work with.
We're all kind of very different people, and we do have to get on well because we're stuck in a car for a long period of time in the heat with flies. You can get tested at times, and if someone's pissing you off, that fly might land in the wrong spot and you just get angry.
Starting in Townsville, the boys will head west along the scenic Overlanders Way, a popular tourist drive taking visitors from the World Heritage listed Great Barrier Reef to the heart of Australia's interior. From Townsville, the boys will head to Charters Towers, then on to Hughenden, Richmond, then it's Julia Creek, before pushing further west to Cloncurry and finally the finish in Mount Isa. One of the featured events on the Outback Tour will be a visit to Julia Creek and the iconic Dirt and Dust Festival, where the Bondi boys will participate in the world's toughest triathlon, visit the races and then take on the bull riding. Never shy in coming forward, Reedy was also telling anyone who cared to listen that he was going to ride a bull. The region is also in the grip of a once-in-a-generation drought, and the boys hope that their goodwill mission might bring a little cheer, if not a little rain. First stop after arriving in Townsville was a lunch at Watermark on the Strand, followed by a visit to Picnic Bay Surf Lifesaving Club and a catch-up with the local nippers.
We flew into Townsville and the first port of call was Picnic Bay Surf Lifesaving Club.
They better take it easy. We're not very fit at the moment.
How good is it?
For us to come to places like this and meet kids that kind of are involved in the surf lifesaving background, for them to meet us, it's a little bit of a thrill, and it's the same for us too. The fact that they like watching our show and they sort of look up to us a little bit. If we can give a little bit back, it's a good thing.
We had a little muck around swim with the nippers, and Reedy was king of the kids and took him for a bit of a relay swim race, and sand crabbed one of them and just rolled him up like a schnitzel,
Do you know what happens to people that lose?
What?
They get the chicken schnitzel.
We got mobbed by a bunch of kids, and that's like the best thing for me on these trips. to interact with young kids that are, you know, following the same sort of passion that you have for the beach and that sort of lifestyle is pretty special.
You know, they're probably the main people that are watching the show, and mate, we have a ball with them, you know, like they're so fun and they want to have a giggle, and mate, that's what life's about, you know.
They're excited to see us, but we really enjoy, you know, spreading the word of lifeguarding and lifesaving, and we just have a good time. They always bring a bit of joy into your life.
While in Townsville, the boys visited the popular Great Barrier Reef Aquarium, home to the largest living coral reef aquarium and the National Reef Education Centre for the Great Barrier Reef Marine Park Authority. From Townsville, the boys made their way southwest along the famous Overlanders Way towards Charters Towers.
Rocked into this town called Charters Towers, and I thought, to be honest, we'd drive down the main street and I was expecting to hear crickets.
Well, we're parking out front.
We were greeted by these really fun kids, just stoked to have us there.
And they're lining the streets, yelling and screaming. I mean, and it's dark, like, it blows you away, the passion and how, like, again, how friendly they are.
Everyone's just so warm and friendly, and they're just happy to see us. It's quite different to sort of what we have to deal with back home at Bondi.
Everyone's been so accommodating, and you know, the more the flies you blow away, the more people you wave at, you know what I mean? So it's kind of works really well.
Overnight, they travelled from Charters Towers to the small rural community of Hughenden, situated on the banks of the Flinders River.
We had an early start the next day after a very big day of driving around. We thought, you know, let's just stretch the legs, hiked up a bit of a mountain. We heard there was a nice lookout at the top.
The boys wasted no time getting acquainted and taking in the local sights.
We crossed this bridge in Hughenden and we looked to the right and there was like a sand kind of creek bed where it's all dried out and there were a bunch of kids playing touch footy.
Playing sand footy, let's go have a game of sand footy.
And like, I couldn't stop the car quick enough. It was so much fun. We got down there, they call that the beach there. Very different to Bondi. We had a ball.
This is so different to being in Bondi, and you know, as much as I like it down there, you know, it's good to get away from all the chaos and the shops and the people, and mate, this is just wide open spaces, and mate, this is just, it's Australia, it's proper Australia.
With the bull riding event just days away in Julia Creek, the pressure was now on Reedy to see if he would ride a bull as promised.
When we were in Sydney, he was pretty keen, he was talking it up.
It's the most dangerous sport in the world by the amount of deaths they have, so the closer we've come to the day of bull riding, the more Reedy backs away from it.
From Hughenden, it was a short drive to Richmond, located halfway between Townsville and Mount Isa. Richmond, like Hughenden, is famous for its fossils and its world-renowned museum, Kronosaurus Corner.
Help!
Richmond is also cattle country, and the City Slickers took the chance to visit a large station and to try their hand at mustering.
Pulling into Richmond, I didn't know what we were up to, and I know it's pretty famous for its cattle country, and I just got put into this situation where I've never experienced anything like it.
The boys then got a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to jump on board a helicopter and to muster cattle by air.
We hooked up with a guide, Davey Fox, and mate, apparently from what we've heard on all accounts, he's the guru, and mate, I got in the chopper with him, and mate, he's pretty good.
I thought I'd never go in a helicopter. I'm not a big fan of heights, and I got in there and I was blown away. I've never done anything like that.
Got to go up in a chopper, got to watch road trains flying down the middle of outback Australia with dust and everything going everywhere.
We came across a head of cattle at one stage, and he, you know, just muck around, rustle them up, and we're just like, wow, you know, I'd love to see him in full flight when they're doing the real job, and mate, that was awesome.
you're flying so low to the ground and there's hundreds of cattle just darting in different directions and you're watching them and you got power lines and you got trees, and what they do is just next level.
I've never experienced anything like that, and they get to do that every day. People say we've got a good job, mate. That's like he's riding a roller coaster 24/7.
After an exhilarating ride in a chopper, it was now time to herd the cattle onto a road train with a local mayor on hand to give some tips.
So for us as lifeguards, we work 10 hours on the beach, and some people say
Pretty
it's
tough
hard.
going.
That's what I was going to say. Some people reckon it's hard. Some people reckon we got the easiest job in the world. These blokes look like they do long hours. I mean, they're up before the sun comes up and they work massive hours. Is it lifestyle, or is it the money is good out here, or it's more about the...
Well, it's not so much the money, it is a lot of lifestyle. A lot of people like to work with animals, horses, you know, cattle. There's a fair bit of camaraderie too, you know, like you guys would have.
The mayor wanted to see the lifeguards try their hand at herding, and it was obvious Reedy was not exactly excited at the prospect.
We'll go down there shortly and we'll get in and we'll yard them up and give them a hand, eh?
Are they gonna come at us?
No, they won't come at you. They know you're a bloody Bondi lifesaver.
We see someone scale the fence pretty quick.
Mate, I've seen some of the pros down there jumping over fences.
Yeah. Well, you've got to be quick. You'll be quick, don't worry. When the pressure's on, you'll do it.
They look like Olympic high jumpers.
I think Reedy's a bit nervous around cows and animals, so yeah, he was a bit rattled when we jumped in there. Hopefully we get to chuck him on a bull later.
Is it dangerous getting in with them? Like, are they gonna come at me?
Sometimes one or two out of maybe 200 might get stirred up. They might chase you, you know. But you just jump the rails, jump out or duck around the side and they'll go away.
So apparently they're going to get us in with these cows that I've seen some horns, and some of them I reckon are bulls. Apparently we're going to get in there and try and push them into a small space. I don't know how this is going to go down.
If Reedy was ever going to ride a bull, he'd at least have to pass this simple test.
Mate, he freaked out and he was only in a pen of cows, mate. You put him in with a 3-ton bull. See how he goes.
Oh, it's a little bit edgy. Those cows, you know, the guy told us, he said, you know, they're probably more scared of you than you are of it. But when I was sitting there talking to him and then a little dog ran behind me and I kind of jumped, yeah, I wasn't comfortable, that's for sure.
When we're working cattle, it's about position. Put yourself in position to what was coming.
It's a dog, mate.
So we're blocking this gate, right? If we went and stood down there and let them stand up at the gate, we'd be doing the wrong thing. Okay. Because they're going to know, as soon as we walk down there, that gate's open, right? Yeah. And we go down this side, all of us.
Yep.
So they come around the yards designed, so they'll come around the fence, straight in.
People sort of say to me, I'm a pretty Australian guy, but I've never had a chance to experience what Australia really is, and I feel like I ticked a huge box. You can watch movies like Australia and things like that and sort of get a bit of an idea, but to actually be there, feel the sun, the scorching sun on your face, to like smell the cattle, not just the crap that comes out of it, but you know, like just to smell the scent of a cow and it coming at you, and you know, it's like nothing else.
After we got in the pen with the cows, you know, rustling up a bit of cattle, put them in the trucks, you know, they're getting ready to get transported off, and you know what, as hard as it is for an animal lover to watch that sort of stuff, you know, that's a way of life out here and it has to be done, and you know, it was really exhilarating to see how they do it and how well they manage it, and mate, hats off to them, because mate, standing out in the sun for that long, like they just pools of sweat, most of them, you know what I mean, and that's hard work, mate.
You've got a lot of cattle, so to transport them, you've got to have big trucks, and these trucks, huge, massive. We were fortunate enough to get to jump in a road train and spend some time in there with a guy, and yeah, it's like a whole nother world.
With the mercury now hovering at 43 degrees Celsius, the boys raced to the nearest watering hole, Lake Fred Tritton, to cool off. And for a fleeting moment, it was like they were back at Bondi.
Oh, mate, that's perfect. That's as good as it gets.
Ready, 1, 2, 3.
From Richmond, it was further west to the next stop, Julia Creek. As special guests at the Dirt and Dust Festival, the boys had no idea what to expect, and they were just looking forward to another exciting outback adventure. On the way into town, the boys ran into Julia Creek's version of peak hour traffic, with a big herd of cattle blocking the road.
There was probably 400 cows and they were all standing in the middle of the road and they weren't moving.
The cattle were just everywhere, you know, if anything came past, they had to stop. You know, he's on his motocross bike with 2 dogs hanging, one on the front, one on the back, and they're having a ball, you know. It's definitely a sight to be seen.
Following a 150-kilometre drive from Richmond, the Bondi boys arrived in Julia Creek, a tough town in a tough part of the world. Julia Creek is another popular tourist stop along the Overlanders Way. Julia Creek's iconic Dirt and Dust Festival is famous in this part of the world, with the 3-day festival drawing visitors from all over Australia. And it wasn't long before the boys got their first taste of bog snorkeling. That night, the 3 lifeguards were invited to take on the locals in the World Bog Snorkeling Championships. And with strong swimming backgrounds, the boys were expected to do well. Reedy warmed up for the big race by wrestling a croc.
Mate, all time. It was so warm in there, there was definitely bits of It wasn't a big croc, but it was a croc, you know, and you know, if we have to come to this town and show them what we're made of, then we will wrestle crocs.
I actually thought it was going to be a lot thicker muddy.
Yeah.
But mate, if you touch the bottom, it was hard to get back out.
Mate, it was just warm and brown. No one likes anything warm and brown.
Unless you're a plumber.
Unless you're a plumber.
Next up, the boys were recruited to be moving targets in a cow poo throwing competition, more affectionately known as dung throw. Basically, if one of the crowd hit the boys with a flying dung, they received a prize. Julia Creek is not a place for egos, and it was obvious that their fleeting celebrity status amounted to very little in this part of the world.
Here we go, come on, here we go, here we go.
Just to add insult to injury, Bacon was blindsided by a rogue dust. Much to the amusement of the crowd.
Can you believe that we've travelled all the way from Bondi, 1,800 kilometres to get thrown at us, and Bacon gets one right in the head. A piece of right in the head. Unbelievable.
With less than 2 hours sleep, the Bondi boys woke early the next morning, ready to take on the Dirt and Dust Triathlon, one of the world's toughest races. Despite the poor preparation, the boys were excited about the challenge ahead.
I have adapted to the city nicely, so waking up after only a few hours sleep from the night, I wasn't feeling fresh, but I was pumped. You know, like I was in Julia Creek and I was just about to race this triathlon that I'd heard all about. Brad Bevan said it was one of the hardest triathlons he's ever done, and I was like, you know what? Let's just do this. And I'm feeling really good.
Yeah?
Yeah, I don't know, just feeling good. Just looking forward to getting out there and racing before it gets too hot.
Corey had never competed in a triathlon and had no idea what to expect.
Never actually done a try. I'm just hoping I've got the stuff that I need and I don't get to one changeover and there's nothing there, you know. So, mate, it'll be interesting. It's going to be hot, a hard wind, I think. But yeah, looking forward to it.
The Cannington Dirt and Dust event is legendary in the world of triathlon, and it's a race where athletes come to test themselves in one of the toughest sporting environments.
I can't compare anything to that water. It was so thick, muddy water. It was, and the reeds just felt like they were drowning you. You know, there's no swims like that around Bondi, that's for sure.
The muddy waters is actually really quite clear water. It's just the sediment running through it. But mate, it was beautiful. Water was perfect. I could have just ditched the rest of the course and just sat in there, I reckon.
And before long, Corey, Bacon and Reedy were off on an 800-metre swim to be followed by a 25-kilometre bike ride and a 5-kilometre run. What the race lacks in distance, it more than makes up for with its extreme conditions.
After Corey stopped in the swim, I was a bit surprised because Corey's a much better swimmer than me. And when I went past him, I thought, you know, he's a good biker. You know, can he catch me?
Yeah, I came out of the water in 3rd position. I didn't have the best of swims. It was quite tough, and I don't know if it was the travelling, but I just really didn't have the best of swims, and got on the bike and I tussled with a guy for a while.
Bacon has far more experience in triathlon, and he was confident of doing well. However, with the morning temperature already at 35 degrees, he, like everyone else, had no idea just how tough the race would be.
Bike leg, hands down, the hardest leg of the race. Like, we had this crosswind that was, like, I pretty much rode at a 45-degree angle the whole way. Like, you know, I didn't expect to do that. They told me to expect a big crazy headwind, and it wasn't. It was just hitting me from the side, and, you know, it was tough, hot, 40 degrees.
25 clicks of just pure head, almost side wind all the way, with like maybe 2-3% gradient all the way back into town, just up the hill. And it was hard and hot and demanding, really demanding.
Despite the sore head from the dung strike the night before, Bacon started to push through the field and into 3rd place as the race moved into Julia Creek.
The heat coming off the road is almost unbearable. It's an unbelievable experience.
I was looking forward to getting off that bike. I'm a runner, so the run's my strongest leg, and a few guys passed me on the bike, and I wasn't happy about it, so I was going out hunting.
Low on energy, Reedy, who loves an audience, was buoyed by the crowds who were out in force to welcome the athletes.
As soon as I hit the main part of town, the crowd started, and it did not stop for the total 5K.
With the temperature now soaring at well over 40 degrees, the 5-kilometre run seemed more like a marathon. Corey, now well back in the field, was just looking to finish the race.
I'm pretty sure the whole town was out. You know, the streets were lined, they had a band playing, and, you know, it just kept the vibe going, and mate, you need it because that heat would have stopped anyone. I know I walked a couple of times just trying to catch my breath and have a drink of water, and if they weren't there, you know, it'd make it a lot harder than what it already was.
In a remarkable effort, Bacon surprised everyone with a strong run, finishing the race in 2nd place. After last night's humiliation, it was a huge turnaround. Meanwhile, Reedy was just happy to soak up all the attention.
For me, it was more about lapping up the crowd and really getting into the race, because that's why I race. You know, I'll never be as good as Bacon and them, but I can go out and I can race and I can kind of compete, and if I can have fun as well, then that's the most important thing to me.
Despite finishing well back from Bacon, Reedy was satisfied with his effort. Meanwhile, Corey was left to soldier on during the heat of the day.
The run was a 5K sort of loop through the town. It took me 2 laps to sort of get a bit of rhythm and cool down with a couple of cold towels and trying to just bring the core temperature back to a normal level again. Last lap I felt really good, but, you know, for my first try and from what I've heard, the conditions up here are just hectic, you know, and to only be like, I think I was only about 10 or 11 minutes behind Reedy, I'm pretty happy with the first attempt. So.
All in all, considering no sleep and the extreme conditions, the 3 boys did themselves and the lifeguard fraternity proud.
Yeah, I didn't have a great swim. I actually got beaten out of the water by a girl and a few guys, so I didn't have the best swim, but got out on that bike and it was windy, and, you know, I passed the guy and he passed me, so I came off the bike just in front of him, and then I felt good on the run. I didn't have a fast run, but just solid, and I just tried to catch Reedy because I could see he was a lap behind. I just wanted to beat him, so it was good motivation to try and run a bit faster.
Getting caught in the reeds was tough, you know, like I was pulling through and then it was almost pulling me down. I was like, what's going on here? But once I got out on the bike and the wind was hitting me in the side, but I kind of stopped for a minute and I looked around. I was like, mate, I'm in the middle of freaking nowhere. Like, this is awesome, you know? It's like just me, the wind, and, you know, and see how big my ticker is, see if I can keep going.
Mate, I came out of the swim. I was actually in front of Reedy for about 3/4 of the swim, and then I stopped and had a little quick breather, just had a look around, and he was right on my tail. I was like, oh no. You're taking the views out here and the people's hospitality, like it's, mate, Julia Creek, mate, that's just blown me away. It's unreal.
Julia Creek was just different, and it was exciting, and it was fun, and it was, you know, you didn't know what it was going to throw at you.
You don't want to come out here and just go for a walk in the park in an air-conditioned room. This is that's the appeal of this sort of event. It's tough, and, you know, you're getting a good workout, but it's so much fun because of the people around you.
Little did they know that this day was about to become one of the longest of their lives. With less than an hour to rehydrate from the triathlon, the boys were soon dolled up for the races. All part of the never-ending dirt and dust festivities. While a punt on the races was high on the agenda, the boys were more focused on the fashion on the fields and meeting beautiful country girls.
We finished the triathlon, what was to be one of the biggest days of my life. We headed over to the racetrack.
I was really looking forward to seeing the ladies all dolled up. I'm a bit of a ladies' man. I love looking at and admiring beautiful women, and for me, that was what I was excited about.
Country racing was just awesome. You know, it was really good. They had fields of fashion, you know, had the guys dress up and the girls dress up, and amazing spread of food, which was really good.
Mate, sensational. Straight into some delicious food cooked by these legends behind the counter. Go and have a little bit of a flutter later, hopefully have a win. Didn't have a win today in the triathlon, unfortunately. Can't win them all, but can ya?
Because Corey finished the triathlon at distant last, he was forced to wear a turkey as part of his penance.
I lost a bet, so I had to wear a giant turkey on my head for the rest of the day.
You got beaten by 2 chicks and you made us wait a long time.
I got beaten by a bunch of guys that have been doing it for a long time.
So listen, you can have all the excuses in the world, but you get giant turkey of the day. Considering there's points at stake for fashion on the field, you can be giant turkey.
Bring it on.
This is you today.
Remember, if you get caught without it, what's the punishment?
10 push-ups every time we see you without it. So don't let any cowboys
knock it off.
Knock it off, yeah.
Mate,
giant
it's
turkey.
not a problem.
Good sport, good sport.
Yeah, well, that's not a drama.
Yep, yeah.
Kind of glad I came last. I won something.
Somehow, Bacon and Reedy managed to convince the officials that they were fashion icons, and they were invited to be VIP judges in the Fashion on the Fields competition. What Bacon failed to realise was that it was a fashion competition, not a beauty competition, and it wasn't long before he was thrown off the judging panel in disgrace.
I got to judge the fashions on the field. I'm not very good with fashion myself, so I felt sorry for the people I was judging.
I guess it's critiquing the women and how they're dressed. I mean, he was just looking at their pretty faces, where fashions in the field is more about what they're wearing and accessories.
It's really hard to look past the beautiful country girls out there and see what they're actually wearing. I mean, their beauty usually takes a hold of me before what they're wearing.
Meanwhile, Reedy was in his element, soaking up all the attention as he mixed with a bevy of beauties, using his newfound fashion status and milking it for everything it was worth. Given the distraction of the girls, the boys could have been forgiven for forgetting that there was a horse race going on.
I was definitely admiring the fillies mostly out there, but I did happen to catch the last race. Put a bet on. Unfortunately, I'm not very good at picking horses, and I picked the donkey and he came stone motherless last.
It's funny watching the races. Is, you know, back home it's just like, you just hear the pounding. This one you just see like a big ball of dust.
The sight to see the horses coming down and the dust trail behind them.
It's not Royal Randwick, but let me tell you, it's more fun because you're out there, the dust comes past you. It's just a great event.
You know, it was only a little event, it was only a little meet, but I felt like I was on a world stage.
Even legendary federal politician Bob Katter is a fan of Bondi Rescue and turned up to welcome the 3 visitors. It wasn't long before Katter and Reedy, 2 very unlikely characters, were comparing notes.
I got a chance to catch up with my mate, the Mad Hatter, Bobby Katter. He, you know, he's pretty mad, but he has a very good heart. And, you know, it was good to, you know, shoot the breeze and talk horses.
You should come and work down the beach for a day and see how you go.
His hat would definitely be good for sun safety. I was lucky enough to get a selfie with him too, and he gave me his hat, and I know there's a bit of a story behind wearing another man's hat, and we won't go into that, that's another story.
The Bondi Surf Club coming here, you know, what could be more Australian than that?
After giving Katter plenty of political advice, the boys let their hair down and just enjoyed the moment and a special day at the races.
It's a really social event, it's great. You know, had a couple of beers and unwinded with the boys after the try. Had a bet, didn't get up at all, but it was good fun.
The drought's been going for a few years out here now, and I was speaking to a couple of people at the track, and they were saying like they only have races maybe 2 or 3 times a year. So I guess it's a pretty special weekend, you know, to get everyone to come together, and I think everyone just wants to be a part of it and try and make it as big and as fun as possible, you know.
They really band together and have these sort of community events and try and forget about the hard times they're going through, and it's so impressive how they do. They just they're there to have a good time, and it's not there to sit around and complain about how tough everything is.
Well, we get caught in our bubble in the city because everything just comes so easily. These people out here are doing it really tough. But it didn't matter. Like, they had this amazing festival and everyone was smiling. Some volunteers came from 9 hours away to volunteer their time, even though they're doing it really tough, and they still brought smiles with them. And that's what this beautiful community and country is all about.
Just when you thought the day couldn't get any longer, the main event was still to come, the Dirt and Dust Bull Ride. As expected, as soon as Reedy took one look at the bulls in action, he quickly lost his air of bravado, deciding that maybe bull riding wasn't for him after all.
And we got there and there's 8 bulls out the back and there's all these cowboys in these protective gear, and it's like, they look like gladiators about to go to battle, and I was like, I'm going to see some gnarly stuff today. I was excited. There may have been rumours that I was going to get on a bull. I can squash them right now, like the 40,000 flies that I've squashed today. That will not happen. I value my bones staying in one place.
These guys are the top in Australia of bull riding, and so are the bulls that they are on. So it was pretty impressive. These guys were taking a beating. I think I only saw 2 or 3 guys make the 8 seconds.
Watching some of those bulls come out was just nasty, man. You know, there's no way I'd even think about getting on one. I'm happy to look at them from behind the fence, and even when you look at them in the eye, you know that they're just checking you.
It's pretty intimidating. The closer you get to the fence, you really feel the energy of those couple-ton bulls just throwing those guys around.
I was sitting there holding my beer and I was just shocked. Like, these guys are getting on these 3-ton bulls and the bulls are just kicking them and the guys are going flying, and mate, I was gobsmacked.
For us to watch it, you know, up so close mate, that was unreal. You know, those guys they're mental, mate. I would never even think of getting close to one of those things.
Incredibly, just when everyone had given up any thought of riding a bull, out of the blue, Bacon hinted that he might give it a go.
All week there was a bit of banter. Everyone was throwing off who was going to ride the bull. No one really wanted to get on there. It was sort of my go to step up, and the boys threw me in. I walked down there to the chutes and I was proper myself.
Who's Bacon?
That's me. How you going, mate?
Good, mate.
Nice to meet you.
You keen to get on, mate?
Maybe, yeah. I don't...
Hold your hand out like that. Look at you, not even a nerve in you.
What started out as a bit of a joke, the way to show up Reedy soon turned deadly serious.
He started speaking to Mad Dog, the guy that's one of the biggest legends in the sport, and you know, he was pretty much, you watch Bacon's steely look, it just turned and they just pretty much convinced him. Hey, you got the man for the job.
Too right. Let's get him kitted up. All right.
I was so caught up in the moment there that I don't know really what was going through my head, but I'd sort of made the decision once talking to Mad Dog that I was going to do it, and I just wanted to stick to my guns, you know. So,
mate, when Bacon said he was going to do it, I was just like, nah, there's no way they're getting. Maybe they let him sit on it in the cage before it jumps out, but mate, they fully dressed him up head to toe.
Feeling the weight of expectation, Bacon didn't want to let the big crowd down, as he felt it was important that the Bondi boys put on a good show.
People have just sort of think we're these prissy kind of Bondi City boys, and get down there behind the ring with the hardest men I've ever met. You know, you sort of feel like you want to prove something, that we're not as soft as people think. I made the decision and there I was, and the more and more I got on, the more worried I got.
Get your chest out above your hump like that. There you go, buddy. Keep your hand out there.
Sitting on top of that bull, the intense energy of that situation is unbelievable. It's undescribable. And there I am, white as a ghost. You can hear the crowd screaming. The guys are trying to talk to you and tell you what, like, because obviously I've had no training. They're trying to give me training in 10 seconds. pulling my hand. It feels like I'm never going to be able to get my hand off this bull.
Yeah, it's tight enough. Right, mate. I can't get that out. Is that You'll be right. She'll come out, Mark. It'll come tight. I can't feel my finger. You'll be right.
Watching those guys get smashed, you sort of try and put that out of your head, but then you can't because he's tightening your hand and you see them getting dragged around by the hand. You don't want to be in that situation.
In the rush to get on the bull, Bacon hadn't even considered how he was going to get off.
Everything's going through your mind and you're like, how do I even get off a bull? That's one thing, getting on it. The next thing's getting off. That seems to be the place where most people are getting hurt. So yeah, I was a bit scared.
The crowd, I didn't think they thought he was going to come out of the cage, no way.
You know, every step people were expecting me to pull out. You know, even when I was sitting on top, I had the choice whether to go or not. And the whole crowd was sort of thinking that I wasn't going to come out.
Mate, the whole field was on their toes. You just hear it getting louder and louder and louder.
And then once I was up there, I just nodded the head.
Mate, when they ripped that cage open, I just couldn't believe my eyes.
When the gate opened, there was Bacon and he was riding that thing. Like, he didn't just fall off.
It's like slow motion. You just see the lights and the colours and you're just holding on for dear life.
I think he made like 6 seconds, like 5.5, 6 seconds, and mate, it's phenomenal that he even did that, let alone stay on for that long. Most guys had 1 to 2 seconds, you know, and they've been doing it for years.
How'd you go? Oh, mate, that was the most pleasurable feeling ever. You guys are the toughest blokes I've ever met in my life. Thanks so much for helping me. Oh, that is an unbelievable feeling. Thanks so much, everyone. And thanks so much for having us this weekend. We've had the best time out in the country. Love this place.
Longest 6 seconds of my life. But then in the same respect, it's over so quickly. I was so relieved I was okay. And
I think it took about 10 seconds to kick in what he did, and it was all time.
When he rode it, like, I might have been running backwards, but when he fell off and the bull was safely in the other cage, I ran in there and I just jumped on him. It was like he'd scored the winning try at the grand final.
then the crowd was going crazy, so they got me to go around a victory lap.
Crowd went ballistic, mate.
Oh, let's take you around for a victory lap.
You're not thinking about other people there at that situation, but when you get off and when there's people come up and congratulate you, and there's, you know, they've got that respect for you after that, it's a pretty special feeling. I'm still on a bit of a high from it.
Shit, mate, you're seriously my hero. I was just standing out there and I was kept running for the fence, and the guys go, "What are you doing, mate? Just standing there." And I just couldn't. I was so scared. And you sat on that thing's back while it did.
You're doing the live. Can I give you some good news? You just made it to the next round. I swear to God.
Oh, you're in the next round.
I swear to God. I'm not. You're in the next round, mate.
Mate,
that was insane, mate. Out of control.
I wish I could have bottled that situation up and just keep reliving it, because it really is truly a special moment in my life.
I tell you what, mate, I've never seen anything like it, and I will never forget it. $6! Sure, $7!
So you guys
Cover up!
To cap off a truly memorable 24 hours, the boys partied well into the night. Desperate to salvage his reputation, Reedy even entered the Best Bum competition, and unfortunately finishing a distant last. After an incredible experience in Julia Creek, where the 3 Bondi Lifeguards took the town by storm, winning over the hearts of the local community, it was time to move to the next stage of their outback adventure. Despite a bog snorkeling world title to his name, Reedy was disappointed with his efforts in the Best Bum competition, and so decided to take some time out to do some sightseeing, starting with a visit to the Julia Creek Tourism Centre, home of the Julia Creek Dunnart, one of the world's rarest animals. Meanwhile, Bacon, charged with his newfound celebrity status, and Corey were invited by BHP to visit Cannington Mine. On the way west to Cannington, Bacon and Corey pass through the small town of McKinley, famous for its pub, Walkabout Creek.
Growing up as a kid with Crocodile Dundee and all that sort of stuff, and I sort of knew where we were, but I didn't think we were going to get a chance to go in there. And sure enough, it was on the way to Cannington Mine. It was like, oh, I'm into this.
I've watched Crocodile Dundee as a kid, you know, growing up, and everyone loves Crocodile Dundee. To be able to go visit the pub where it all started and the town where it all started is pretty cool.
With Corey and Bacon fighting off the crowds in McKinley, Reedy headed to the historic outback town of Cloncurry. On the way, for reasons only Reedy can explain, he decided it was time to climb a mountain. And as if to show his true colours, he took the opportunity to strip down to his Speedos, much to the dismay of the locals. With Reedy still swanning around in his togs, Corey and Bacon arrived at Cannington, located 200 kilometres east of Mount Isa. Mining plays a huge role in outback communities like this, and the boys were just excited to visit a world-class mine and to head underground.
The mine itself is an underground mine. We mine silver, lead and zinc. We have a large processing plant on site.
The Cannington mine BHP have put in it is impressive, the infrastructure.
You know, the amount of machinery, you know, the costings of machinery and you know, how much they keep it in check, and
like those big trucks and everything going around. It's quite a production.
Before venturing below ground, Corey and Bacon got a chance to play with some big trucks.
They really opened up to us and showed us as much as they could, and you know, got us to do a couple little drives with we wouldn't call it a dump truck, it's like an oversized dinosaur of a dump truck, you know, it's massive.
As lifeguards on Bondi Beach, safety and rescue are central to the job. And for Corey and Bacon, it was easy to appreciate the importance of safety, especially when it comes to operating a huge underground mine.
Out there, safety is paramount, and they really are stringent on what they have to do. And we have a lot of similarities. I mean, they unfortunately are responding to things, and their biggest thing is preventative, similar to us. They're trying to stop the hazards before they happen.
The differences I can see with you guys is that we get the opportunity to talk to people and train people on our procedures and what we expect from them, whereas you guys don't get that opportunity. Everyone's cold call really on your beach, aren't they? Especially if they're from a multinational area or another country.
Yeah. Once you've got machinery that size and you're going underground, you know, the levels of safety just go through the roof, you know what I mean? And what the guys do, you know, with their training and to learn from them and put it towards our sort of side of work back at home, you know, I'm definitely going to take a few ideas and, you know, just think a little bit more outside the box.
After a long induction, it was now the moment of truth, with the boys heading underground.
Excited about going down 640 metres?
No, I'm not too excited about that.
For me, it was really, really intriguing. I just wanted to get down there so bad, and I'm pumped. We went down to like 630 metres below, you know, and that was, you don't really notice it because everything just looks like a crazy wormhole. It doesn't feel like you're going down, but you know, once you're down the bottom, it's mind-boggling, mate. You know, I'd hate to think if there was an electricity shortage and you couldn't see anything, it'd be pretty hard to find your way out.
If there's an underground fire and the atmosphere's filling with smoke, or whatever it might be, or if there's just an incident that we want to get people to a safe place, we'll send them to the fresh air chambers. We've got these located throughout the mine. Cannington's pretty lucky, we've got about 29 of these throughout the mine.
Even though it was so big down there, I did feel safe, but when you see those signs and you're 600 metres below the surface, it is a bit of a sickening feeling. And they've got 160 kilometres of roads. It was like a rabbit's warren. We were just going left, right, left. There were turns 500 to choose from, so I don't think I would have got out of there alive.
Mate, you're going to go down a shaft which looks like a bottomless pit and we're back up again. 620 down, 620 metres.
At one point we were sitting there and it was a bit quiet, and then I see this massive truck come past, and to be able to fit down there 600 metres below the surface, pretty impressive.
When they're just blasting it out, drilling holes to put the sticks of TNT in there and to get out what they're getting out is is phenomenal, and how they do it is second to none. You know, it's awesome.
So that dirt that gets tipped down the ore passes comes down to the crusher. If there's any larger rocks, they get tumbled and crushed up here, and then it's taken up in the skip to surface, loaded on the truck, and then round to the ROM.
For two blokes who spend their lives on the beach, the trip down under was an enlightening experience.
If you flew over the top here, you wouldn't know that there's 160 kilometres of road
Underneath, yeah.
Like, it's just never ending down there, and that's what took me away. It just goes and goes and goes, and every turn you go around there's 3 more options. So, I mean, I wouldn't want to get stuck down there or lost.
Little antholes though.
I had a Tonka truck when I was a kid, and been down there watching these big toys go around and how powerful they are. I mean, it's pretty impressive.
The BHP mine also plays a significant role in the well-being of the local community.
What they do in the communities around where they've got the mines is pretty cool. You know what I mean? We've heard a lot of how much they give back in, and you know, with medicals and finance and you know, events, and you know, like even flights. You know, if someone needs to go somewhere, or if they need you know, rescuing, I think that's pretty cool that they're more than willing to give back so much into the community. You know.
While Corey and Bacon concluded the mine visit, Reedy was out exploring in Cloncurry. Cloncurry is a treasure trove of outback history, and Reedy went on a voyage of discovery.
Just come to Cloncurry Unearthed. It's the local museum, and there's a lot of history in this place, so I'm going to go and check it out.
Cloncurry is also the birthplace of the Royal Flying Doctor Service.
So before they had radios and were able to communicate with people on land, basically they would fly low over the property and they would drop these barrels out, and the barrels would have little notes in them, little messages. Imagine how we would try and have to work as lifeguards on the beach without radios or any sort of communication. It'd be absolutely gnarly. So this is how they did it. You just had to adapt back in the days, and that's what they did. So we've just been down to see the Cloncurry Dam. It's a pretty special place for these guys, and what keeps them hydrated. It's the only water source they have here. They also use it for recreational purposes. They kayak and they jet ski. I was lucky enough to get to have a little kayak on the Cloncurry Dam. And now we're just doing a little bit of off-road bush bashing, country style.
Cloncurry is a mecca for four-wheel drive enthusiasts, photographers and fossickers, and is renowned for its Aboriginal rock art and wildlife. Finally, after 2 days of separation, the three amigos joined forces again, meeting in Mount Isa, the final stop on their outback adventure. After a well-earned thirst quencher, they were soon relaxing down at the local lake with a spot of barramundi fishing. Trying to make up for lost ground, Reedy desperately wanted to land the catch of the day, but again came up empty-handed.
And as soon as we got here, you know, Bacon's already banged one straight up on the line. I think it was like, you know, 1.10 m or something. So that's pretty cool, you know, that was good timing to get there and check it straight away.
With Reedy still sulking over the fish that got away, the boys enjoyed a beautiful sunset over Lake Mundara. Bacon's fame had no boundary, and when the Mayor of Mount Isa heard the Bondi Rescue boys were in town, he invited them over for dinner, personally commending Bacon for his outstanding efforts on the bull.
So look, thanks for coming, and I just hope we can maintain this friendship. So thanks for accepting our hospitality.
After an amazing 8-day journey and 1,300 kilometres of incredible country, the boys from Bondi Beach left the Queensland outback with a newfound respect for country life and a real appreciation for the people and places that make this part of the world such a special place to visit.
I've had the best trip I've ever had out here. It's probably been the best week of my life. You know, I can't recommend it more to anyone than having a trip over the Overland Way. It is really special. There's so much to see and do, and we've been treated out here.
The trip has been a never-ending week saga of just amazingness. So good. I don't even know where to begin.
I don't know what to say. It's been it's probably been the best trip of my life. I've got to do things that I've always dreamed of doing as a kid. I got to play in helicopters, ride horses, get in road trains. You know, just see Australia for what it really is.
From helicopter rides to swimming in the lakes and eating the local red claw and just meeting and greeting, going underground in the mines. You know, just having a ride around the bikes, cruising in the four-wheel drives. Mate, it's just never ending.
The people out here are just so welcoming and so genuine, you know, and you stop in a town and they're doing it so tough, you know, and then they're still happy, smiling, want to take you in. They look you in the eye. It's a beautiful trait that people have out here.
I think when you live in Bondi, you can sort of get caught up in this bubble, and I think a lot of city people are quite selfish. And from what I've seen, the community spirit, you know, country people, they're just good people. And for me, as well as all the amazing things that I got to do, I really took out of it that, you know, we can all help each other out and we can all be good to each other. We don't have to, it doesn't have to be a dog-eat-dog world, you know.
The hospitality out here has been phenomenal, you know, from when we first landed in Townsville and, you know, going through Charters Towers and Richmond and Julia and, you know, every other place that we drove through and didn't even get to stop at. The openness of people up here is real, and that's what Australia is, you know, as far as I'm concerned, especially the outback communities where there's not so many people. Mate, that's just makes it all the more enjoyable to come and check it out and be a part of it.